On today's episode of TWB, it's NFL kickoff week, and our beloved Buffalo Bills are taking on the defending LA Rams.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your hosts, Andrew Chang and Justin Goddard.
Welcome in, everybody, and thanks for joining us on another episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast, a show here on the Buffalo Fanbase Network. My name is Andrew Chang, and it's just going to be me today. Justin is still enjoying his honeymoon, and he's just getting back. So, you know what? I figured, give him a little more time to enjoy the week and, him getting married. So if you haven't given him a shout-out, please do. You can find him on social media by searching up JGods22. You can find this podcast by searching on most social media or podcasting platforms by searching up the Wandering Buffalo podcast. Today, we have something, kind of big to talk about. In 3 short days, Bills Mafia, 3 short days, the Buffalo Bills are taking on the LA Rams. First game of the year. The biggest stage. Right next to, the Super Bowl. One of the biggest stages to be on. You're showcased. And I couldn't be more excited. I really am excited for this game. And I'm a little nervous, if I'm being honest. There's some jitterbugs going on. But 3 days. Okay? 3 days. And with this kind of offseason that happened with the Buffalo Bills, which could only be described as a bit of a roller coaster with high highs, getting some really big name free agents and some real lows, which I won't go into because I think you kind of understand where I'm going with when I'm saying that. But you know what? All that stuff is done. It doesn't matter anymore. Everything starts on Thursday in LA. Okay? So on today's episode, I have an idea that I'm going to give you a game preview. Okay? It's kind of like when you get called into, your boss's office or something like that, and they always kind of go like, all right, do you want the bad news first or do you want the good news? Okay? I'm going to do the bad news first, or some things we should probably be aware of about when it comes to the Rams, and then I'll finish on some high notes. That way we can end this episode and hopefully your day feeling pretty good about this matchup. Okay, so let's talk about the bad news here, and this just kind of talks about who the LA Rams are in general, and just some overarching team statistics. Okay, so at quarterback they have Matt Stafford. He is not a bad quarterback. I was going through Facebook the other day, and a highlight showed of him when he was a rookie and had his shoulder popped out against the Browns and still won the game for the Lions. Matt Stafford is a savvy veteran, and he's good. He is very, very good. And I got to be honest, I'm kind of a little worried. He's got a little gunslinger into him. So, he only had 1 year with the Rams, but hey, he could get better. Even better, if that's even possible. So, I don't know. You gotta keep your eye on a guy like Matt Stafford, because he's not afraid to sling it. He can open up anywhere he wants to on the field. And then you look at their running backs. Okay, Cam Akers, Darnell Henderson. Those are the 2 big guys that you got to really worry about. And Cam Akers, I believe he tore his ACL, Achilles last year, and then he kind of came on for the playoffs, and he looked pretty good for some guy who tore his Achilles. And that's pretty impressive. OJ Howard tore his Achilles, and we know what he looked like in preseason and practice. He went to the Bengals. They didn't want him. And then he went to the Texans and they signed him. So that's got to say something. If you can tear your Achilles and you can come back and be effective on a Super Bowl team, you got my stamp of approval. Definitely got to watch out for that guy. And then their wide receivers. the GOAT in terms of fantasy. If you had him last year, Cooper Kupp, I definitely had him, just saying. Cooper Kupp, this man is going to be there. I don't even know what the Bills are going to do to contain this man because he is so good. He is just so good, Bills Mafia. He was a touchdown machine, and Taron Johnson's going to draw a tough assignment for him. And I don't know if they're going to shadow a safety over or just give Taron some extra help or just leave him on an island. But, hey, Cooper Kupp, dangerous. And then we got to talk about Allen Robinson. He's also a good veteran, and he was pretty good in Chicago when he had some erratic quarterback play, one Mitchell Trubisky, before he came to the Buffalo Bills. Not saying Mitchell Trubisky is much better now, but, you know, he was kind of erratic when in his time in Chicago. Tyler Higbee, okay, whatever. The line, pretty decent. And then their defense, guys. The best player in the NFL right now plays for the Rams, and his name is Aaron Donald. He's going to draw like 2 or 3 of our interior offensive linemen just to get after him. Like, he's just that good. And it's crazy to think that people thought that Aaron Donald was like undersized. And I guess technically he is, but he's just so strong and just so good. And I don't want to, like, we saw what he did against the Bills last year, or 2 years ago, I believe, when the Bills made it to the AFC Championship. I think that was about 2 years ago. He almost single-handedly destroyed that game for us. We were winning by a lot, and then the Rams just came storming back like crazy. Let's talk more about that defense. Leonard Floyd, pretty good. Can't forget about him. Oh, and they just signed this guy named Bobby Wagner in the offseason. Like, what? Bobby Wagner, future Hall of Famer. I don't know. I mean, he's definitely on the older side, but you cannot discredit who this man is. He's got all the right stuff between the ears. So I don't know what the Rams have in store, how they're going to play against Josh Allen in this offense, but it is worth noting that they have some star power, and speaking of stars, they have Jalen Ramsey, okay? Last time Stephon Diggs and Jalen Ramsey played, Stephon Diggs did get a touchdown, but other than that, it was kind of quiet, and that's not any shade to go towards Diggs. It just shows you how good Jalen Ramsey is. But it also shows you how good Stephon Diggs is, because he was just matched up with them the entire time, and Diggs still managed to get a touchdown. That doesn't happen that often when you have Jalen Ramsey on you. Then you look at the rest of their defense. They got some old faces back, like Troy Hill, their safeties, Taylor Rapp. That's pretty good and all that stuff. But, hey, it's going to be a tough assignment. And just to like give you even a bigger picture of what the LA Rams are, here's just some stats before we go into the break, just to kind of give you an understanding of what we're really dealing with here. So the LA Rams, their total offense out of the previous season's statistics, they were ranked number 9 out of 32. Pretty good. Okay. Their defense, number 17, and I think that's like a number you really shouldn't pay too much attention to. And I'm a big data guy. That's what I do for a living. But number 17 for the Rams for total defense, I think it doesn't feel like that. I feel like they should be closer to like 12. But, whatever. Special teams. This kind of surprised me, but at the same time, maybe not so much. Ranked number 23. Okay? Number 23 in special teams, and in turnover differential, they were ranked 13th. So that's a pretty good team right there. Okay? That they have a lot of star power, and they're ranked really good. Lot of challenges that can present some serious issues for the Buffalo Bills, and that's the bad news. Okay? Stick around. I'm going to go into a break here, and when I come back, we're going to talk about the good news and hopefully end your day, or, whenever you're listening to this podcast, off on the right foot.
Hey, this is Dick DeGroat, Bill's dad. Now back to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, and we're going to wrap up this episode about talking about the good news about this matchup against the LA Rams. And, we got to talk about our Buffalo Bills. Now, I did a whole lot of talking in that previous segment about, how the Rams personnel is, something you got to pay attention to. Like, hey, they got a lot of star power. Okay? That's true. They really do have a lot of star power. But hey, the Buffalo Bills, we got star power too. I mentioned that they have Matt Stafford. That's great. We got Josh Allen. Okay? We have Josh Allen, and we have our quarterback room in general is stronger than the LA Rams. Running backs, I'd say that both of our teams aren't really like the best at running the football, but I feel like Singletary was hitting his stride, especially towards the end in the postseason. And with Aaron Kromer coming over, it sounds like this is going to be something that is going to be the standard, that we're going to be able to run the ball way more effectively, and that's just going to open things up in the passing game. So the way I envision it is like, hey, remember how the Bills were doing good rushing the football in the postseason? Imagine that being the floor going into this season. So that's how I'm thinking about it. Okay? Speaking of star power, I mentioned, they had some pretty good cornerback named Jalen Ramsey, but hey, we got Stephon Diggs, Jamison Crowder, Khalil Shakir, Isaiah McKenzie, Gabe Davis. We all know what these guys can do. You want to draw all this attention to Stephon Diggs? That's fine. That's fine, because Gabe Davis is going to pop off with some 4-touchdown game, maybe? I don't know. If he's not going to do it, there are so many mouths to feed on this offense. And Dawson Knox, I'm so confident that he can just build off what he did last season and just do so much more. This offensive line is looking so much more legit. We got Roger Saffold in the mix. Now, I do got to say something about this offensive line. It's listed here on ESPN that David Quessenberry is listed as the starting right tackle, which, it shouldn't come to any surprise. Spencer Brown had some back surgery in the offseason, and he just hasn't really had a lot of run in some game time, so he's getting acclimated. So David Quessenberry, definitely just the placeholder for right now until Spencer Brown gets back. So I guess that kind of makes me a little nervous, but the good news is that David Quessenberry in the preseason has shown that he's very capable at right tackle, and he's got all those reps with the starting other 4 linemen. So there's continuity, okay? And clearly, if it was that bad, they would have done something by now. But the Bills feel comfortable about rolling Quessenberry out at the right tackle spot, and I think this might be one of the best lines that I have personally ever seen as a Buffalo Bills fan. But let's switch things over to another positive. This Bills defensive line is so stacked. A year after year, Bills Mafia, I always feel like Brandon Beane tosses, and if you listen to this pod and you know me, I have said this so many times that the Bills toss so many resources into that line. Resources. Man, draft picks, money. The only 2 things you can really do in terms of accumulating talent on an NFL roster, and the Bills have focused so hard on that defensive line. And this year, they brought in a big fish, Von Miller. Okay? Von Miller is going to do so well for this team. I'm so excited. And he's already bringing out the best in Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, and we got some superstar. I mean, I won't say superstar, but I feel way better about Daquan Jones and Tim Settle and just the depth of this team. Like Jordan Phillips and Shaq Lawson are just like your bottom tier players, which is crazy. Okay? Like 3 years ago, they were our starters, and now they're like the third stringers in their respective positions. Like, this team is so deep on the defensive line, and it feels like this is what the Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have wanted all along. This isn't like when we had Star Lotulelei in there, and I was like, I don't know if he's gonna be good. I don't know if he's gonna be able to plug the holes up. From all indications, that from what I've seen from this line, it looks like the pieces are falling in the right spots. Ed Oliver's looking good. The defensive line's looking good. The edges, I'm just super excited. And that, you know what? This brings us to the linebackers. I really feel like the linebackers are going to be even better this year because everything is going to be cleaned up in front of them. Specifically, Tremaine Edmonds, right? That's one of the big things that are one of the knocks against Tremaine Edmonds. Like, he can't be kept clean. Sometimes it's hard for him. He's a little late to pull, to trigger on things. With everything being in front of him, super cleaned up, I have a feeling this man is going to feast. Hot take here. I'm going to say that he's an AP player, okay? He's first team, okay? And that's hot. That's super hot for me. I think he's going to be that good because I'm a more optimistic person, and why not? I'm feeling good right now, okay? Our team is so stacked, and when it comes to safeties, say less. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. I don't even really need to tell you more about that. The one area here that I'm like, maybe we could be better is cornerback. And the only reason why I'm saying that right now is because Tre'Davious White is on the PUP list. But we have our first-round pick in Kaiir Elam, who's shown flashes in this preseason. So I got a good feeling about this guy, okay? As soon as he can put it together, I got a feeling he's going to be, like, really, really good, okay? Dane Jackson, he's shown that he's acclimating this defense, and good for him. From going from a 7th-round pick to basically leapfrogging Kaiir Elam, a 1st-round pick, and Christian Benford, a 6th-round pick. That's pretty great, in terms of like, hey, your 7th-round pick from like two years ago is ahead of the depth chart of your 1st and 6th. Now, that's awesome. That just shows you Dane Jackson has put in the time and work here to be an effective football player for this defense. But he should know Kaiir Elam and Christian Benford are right behind him. That's the floor with those two. Christian Benford and Kaiir Elam, that's the floor, which is great. That is a super high floor. Okay? Tyler Bass, awesome guy. I'm sure he's going to kick more ass. Sam Martin, I'm very, very happy that we got Sam Martin in here because every time that he's held a football for his respective kicker, they have done great. And most importantly, we have an adequate punt returner in Khalil Shakir. I'm super happy. Just get the ball back. Don't fumble it. Don't do anything. We have an effective football team, and this should I'm getting jazzed up. This should make you feel great about this NFL team. And just to make things better, I'm going to tell you about the stats real quick. The Buffalo Bills total offense ranked number 5 out of the 32 teams. Rams were number 9. Defense, you already know. Bills were number 1. Again, Rams were 17. Special teams. Bills number 8. And that's even with McKenzie, kind of being as a punt returner. Now we got Khalil Shakir, as I just mentioned. Bills right now, number 8. Rams last year, 23. Turnover differential. We all know turnover differential is huge, especially in big games. Bills were number 7. Rams were 13. Overall, this team, on paper, at least from last year's statistics, is much better, in my opinion. Rams are good, but this suggests that the Bills are the cream of the crop of the NFL, and it should come to no surprise that they are actually, ranked as or the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl. Now, when you go on ESPN right now and you look at the game predictor, ESPN has it like 49.6 to 49.9 in favor of the Rams in terms of who they think are going to win. And they typically like to lean towards the home team, but we're talking less than 1%. Okay? That just shows you that the Bills made up for that like 3 or 4 point deficit that they usually favor towards the home team by like that much. This is going to be a great game, Bills Mafia, and I'm just so excited football's here. And I gotta admit, this isn't one of my best pods because I feel like I'm getting so excited that I'm fumbling over my words, but I really am just so happy that the NFL season's here, that we get to see all this great stuff within the community again, and football's back. We're going to see some great things from this team. And I got to admit, last year, week 1 against the Steelers, I felt like it was a good year, that maybe this team had some things together that we could potentially take that next step. But I always had that little shred of doubt with last year's team because of what happened in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. I got to tell you, this year, I do not have this any similar feelings or shreds of doubt. This defense just went from great to potentially epic. This offense was already doing great. And now we have a solid run game to add to it. With my only reservation, and this is my only caveat, is that Ken Dorsey is a first-time coordinator. But from what I've seen and from what I'm hearing from Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, sounds like he's doing a pretty good job. And I can't wait to see what him and the rest of this NFL team has in store for us on Thursday night. 3 days from now, Bills Mafia. 3 days. Let's go. Woo! All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. I'm very glad I actually, saved the good news. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes. Good news for the end of the episode because, hey, we gotta feel good about. We gotta somehow make these next 3 days palatable somehow. So might as well be feeling good about it, right? As always, you can always find me on social media by searching up Two Changs. You can find our podcasts by searching up any, podcasting platforms, and even on YouTube by searching up the Wandering Buffalo Podcast. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, review our podcast. If you have any questions or, you just want to have a good discussion, feel free to reach out to us in any way, shape, or form. It'd be greatly appreciated. We always appreciate everything that the Bills fan base does in general. So, hey, I just want to say thank you. We made it to another NFL season. It's going to be a great time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening, and go Bills.